Greetings, my lovelies. Today we're going to go over the Grateful decks. Um, this was a prompt brought to you by Moonflower Moments, and I thought it was awesome, so I am going to do this VR. Uh, the first prompt is decks that stood by my side through the darkest moments. Now, this year, I have had two of my siblings transition into the land of the ancestors. So I went and I bought them specific decks that made me think of them. And I use them when I am missing them and grieving and whatnot. And it helps me through that grieving process. And so I got Tattoo Tarot for my little brother, who is equally as tatted up, if not more, than I am currently. I got the mini version, and I pull it out whenever I think of him or feel the need to ask him any questions or connect with him in any way, shape, or form. So that was one deck. Another deck I got was when my older sister became an ancestor. I don't remember the exact name of this, but I bought it because it's so beautiful and girly, and it just makes me think of her. It's it's a Rider-Waite-Smith collage deck. And so again, for the same purpose, and I use it a little more often right now just due to the fact that she transitioned a little more recently than my little brother. And it's definitely not neither of these are a deck I would normally choose for myself, but because I was looking at what would remind me of them, I went and was able to find things that would bring me joy and remind me of the good parts of them and all of that. The second prompt we have is the deck that has told me the hardest truths. And that deck for me was the Heal Myself Oracle or Heal Yourself Oracle, which I have here. Also, just a beautiful deck. But as you can see, things like self sabotage has come up during readings I've done for myself. Unleash your creativity. So it really has a good balance of positive and negative, but it pulls no punches. So if I need to hear that I am self-sabotaging myself or I'm stuck in a victim consciousness, then, I can't really hide from that too much when the card is looking at you directly saying, hey, by the way, you know. So that was that. Prompt number 3 was the deck that gave me language for my feelings, and that was the Solstice Oracle. Let's see. Solstice Oracle. I think it's in this one. Yeah. So I bought this deck specifically because I don't like having words on my tarot and oracle decks as and I want them as minimal as possible so that I can really work on using my intuition. And so when I'm really feeling in my feelings and I pull a card from this deck, I am able to um, tap in and really be be like, okay, the author, even though in the book it does have a name, I don't use the book with this. I just look at it and go, okay, yeah, you know, I'm feeling trapped, or I need to get out of my own way, things like that. And it's becoming very healing as I use this deck. It is a very large deck, as you can see in my hands, but the imagery is very captivating, and it really just pulls on the heartstrings and the intuition in letting me really flex that muscle um, a little stronger than a deck that would, like more common decks that go and they pretty much have the whole meaning of the card on it, the whole book description on the card. And that's just not how I was taught to read cards. To I was taught to use my intuition if I want to study the book meanings to do that, but just to take what parts make sense to me and to go from there. Um, so that was the deck that gave me language for my feelings. Now, prompt number 4 is the deck that opened my eyes to what I could be. And that deck was the Lightworker Oracle Fierce Love 1111 edition. Sorry, I'm trying not to drop decks. I have them just strewn all over my desk right here. And so this deck, it showed me the most powerful aspects of myself and how I could be perceived by others and myself. I love working with this deck. It is very informative, and I also love the representation in there. But how powerful is this? Look at that. Higher knowing. So that is the prompt number 4. Prompt number 5 is the deck that dared me to live. And this may surprise people, but it is the Gothic Tarot. I find I get the most caring and loving and um, more of a hug energy from the darker visual decks. So as you can see, we've got gargoyles, we've got dragons and vampires and all kinds of things. We've got a reaper, um, dark angels. But this one, because there's so much death and death energy or imagery, it reminds me to focus on the here and now and how to um, move forward in my life to really embrace the day to day and to live to my uh, best life, So this is actually the second time I've owned this deck. This is one of the first decks I ever got when I was younger, and or that I bought myself, and it just called to me to go and get it again years and years later. And it just reminds me of my younger self, my more lively self, and that, live in the moment because it may not last. Uh, Number 6 is the deck that celebrated my biggest victory, and that is going to be two different decks. That is going to be, where are you? Um, it's going to be the oh, Voodoo Tarot, and actually, it's not going to be two different decks. I got that confused. The Voodoo Tarot. So this is the newer Voodoo Tarot, not the um, New Orleans Voodoo Tarot, which I previously owned multiple times actually, because I really like that deck. But this is the newer Voodoo Tarot. I think it came out last year, and it reminds me of all the different events that I worked at this year, and all of all of the beautiful tarot readings I did through my Etsy shop this year, um, readings that I've done in person, over the phone. It just reminds me that the ancestors put it in my way, in my path to do this, and um, that the more I do it, the more they will send more people to get readings from me to help them heal and get uh, to gain perspective in their own lives so that they can move forward in their own paths. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Number 7 is the deck that taught me to the importance of stillness. And that deck is the Tarot de Marseille. So I have a few Tarot de Marseille decks. The one that really says stillness to me is right here. Is this beautiful one. And it's just a standard Tarot de Marseille. They just use different colors for the different suits and the major and minor arcana. It's a very flowery deck. It's very whimsical if it's going to be a Tarot de Marseille, at least from my point of view. And it just makes me want to sit still and be in the moment. So this beautiful deck. Um, it also like makes me feel very much in my feminine energy, which is great. A calming peace energy. And so the Tarot de Marseille does that. I have, like I said, a couple, but this specific edition of it is the one that I use the most when I need that type of energy. The 8th prompt is the deck that gave me more questions than answers. And that was the Fairy Oracle by Brian Froud. So, as you saw recently in another uh, video, if you've been following my channel, I don't work with this deck as much as I would like to, but when I do, it's definitely evokes a moment of just pause and think and I know I just asked you a question, but now I have more questions because I have gotten my answer, but now I need to know what else or what for, or it just makes you, it's a very complicated and contemplative deck for me because it's a fairy deck, but it also has a very strong like energy of like you're talking to these mythical creatures that are your friends. And so they give you the advice, but then you're like, okay, so I know what you said, and then you just want to keep going on and on and on about it with these spirits that are encompassed in the card. And I think that's awesome. Uh, Prompt number 9, deck that taught me to notice the magic in the mundane. And that is my ancient Egyptian tarot mini. So this is again exactly what it says. It reminds me that even in the day-to-day life, as you can see in these pictures, there's a lot of day-to-day life of ancient Egyptian or ancient Kemetic peoples. And you can see that the magic is incorporated, and it just makes me think, oh yeah, so today is such and such. It's a normal day. Maybe I should go ahead and let's set out an extra offering, or let's do something magical today. Let's journal. Let's do some shadow work. Let's do something to incorporate this new energy into my life. And it's just a beautiful deck for that for me. And it's very much needed when some days you just feel like everything is just way too mundane. And then you're like, okay, let's do something. So I go and I'll pull a couple cards and see if there's any offerings anyone specifically wants spiritual, like, and when I say anyone, I mean any of the Netaru or any other deities, any ancestors, any other spirits, the Fae, anyone that I happen to work with. And I can easily get those answers from this deck and kickstart my magic practice on a day that it just feels very, very bleh or normal. And I just don't like feeling extra normal. So that happens. Let's see. Number 10, the deck that encourages me to embrace levity. So that would be oh, did I drop something? No, I thought I felt something. That would be my cat Marseille. And it's a silly little deck. I love it. It's got cute little cat images as opposed to the normal human renditions, and they're doing silly little things, and it just makes me feel more in taps with my inner child. Another deck that does that for me is my Dreaming of Fae Tarot, which is literally a deck that I illustrated and uh, had made on make makeplayingcards.com. So those are the backs, and then it just has little Fae pictures. It is a pip deck, so there's my mage or magician. I don't know how good of a picture you can get, but he's just chilling. My justice card showing that she's not blind and that she can see through multiple realms. Lovers. I did color code um, the different uh, suits. So blue for the cups, and then green for the coins, so on and so forth. Temperance card. He's a mermaid. Uh, we've got a leprechaun for the Wheel of Fortune. This deck is really good, or has been really good for tapping into that inner child part of me. And they're just cute little images. It's meant to look like a child drew it. It's meant to just spark your imagination without being too serious. And it just it's a great deck for that. Um I would also put this deck in the uh last prompt, which is prompt number 12, the deck that jump started my a creative project. And I say that just because this is literally a creative project. I did all 78 cards. I made the bag and everything. Um, but we're not there yet. Oh yeah, we are. So again, I have another one. The deck that jump started the process. Another fairy deck that I have is that helps me just want to be more creative is the Tarot Nuage, which is a Marseille style. It's kind of somewhere between Marseille and um, it's an illustrated Marseille, I guess I would say. You would read it as a Marseille, but there are images besides just like the staffs or wands. Um, so it's kind of like I see it as somewhere between a Rider Waite type deck and a Waite Smith deck and a uh, Marseille, but I read it like a Marseille. So if you read the information on Amazon, it says it's a Marseille style deck, and it's got different like penguins, and there's a little fairy, some gargoyles, all kinds of things. It just again taps into that mythology and that inner childness that I fully enjoy. I feel like I missed something. Give me 1 second. Oh, number 11. The deck that shifted my practice. I knew I missed something. All right, so that was the this one right here, the Star Codes Astro Oracle. And that is because I do not do astrology. So, I'm slowly learning astrology and incorporating it into my tarot reading. And again, if you've seen uh previous videos of mine recently, it shows I mentioned that I'm learning the Thoth deck, which does use elements and astrology pretty prevalently. Um, so I wanted to use this with the Thoth deck to really start immersing myself in astrology in a way that I could understand so that I can start um, incorporating it more in my readings, because I feel like no matter how long you're doing a craft, you can always learn something. And I've been doing tarot since I was 15. I will be 39 this year. And so I've been reading cards in one way, shape, or form, and I just feel like this is a good way to learn an element of cartomancy that I haven't learned yet, so that I can sharpen and modify and really help with my any tarot reading information I can get, because of course, even when reading intuitively or getting messages from the ancestors, if they know astrology and they want to be like, hey, this is a lot of Aries energy, that this person is carrying, then you can add that to your repertoire of, okay, so the reading says this, and this person is very fiery and ready to go and get things going, and they want to get stuff off the ground and move forward that way, and you would be able to say that without being like, yeah, I heard Aries, you know. So I thought that was great, and so I have added that to my personal studies so that I can, you know, use that in future readings, if it comes up. Because, the more you know. Anyway, that has been my Grateful Decks of 2025. Thank you, Moonflower Moments, for inspiring me to do this video. And everyone, y'all have a beautiful day. Bye.